right. Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Sorry about that. Still having technical difficulties. I'm Luis Velasquez. This is an all-on podcast live dedicated to all things Mexican football, Mexican soccer, and yeah. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. Sorry it was a little bit late. First of all, Carlos, are you okay? We had some fire. Something was burning in the background and we decided to stop.
It's okay. The fire was put out. Not in UEFA, though. Not in UEFA.
It starts out. There we go. Saying hi to Mr. Cesar Hernandez there, San Diego, Tijuana, joining us, which you're all vaccinated, right? Second one?
Partially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my second Moderna soon, but yeah, man, just excited to be chatting about Mexican football. Nice to have Carlos as well here, even though, like a minute before we started recording, he was like, wait, something smells like fire. And he got up and just immediately left. Glad that everything's all right with Carlos.
Everything's good. We have that. Carlos joining us there. You're San Jose, right?
That is correct.
San Jose. There, if you want anything about the earthquakes, Carlos obviously does all the commentating, an amazing job there. Chivas on Telemundo's universe, as I like to call it. We have a great show for everybody has been joining us. Lots and lots of questions, especially with this mega super amazing league that's going to start, the Super League. And I had to look at my notes because I keep saying Interleague from the old days of Interliga and everything that comes in. So we have all your questions answered. If you're following us on the chat, saying hello to everyone, Mr. Albert Campa, we know him, always on Twitter. How's it going, Albert? And DJ Chaser. We'll start the questions. Here we go. Saying what's up, Sarah Hernandez. Awesome there in Texas. So we got lots of great show. And we're just gonna jump in, right? And we're gonna take it as there's a lot of people that don't know. How many of you guys got texts today from people that don't necessarily talk about football, soccer, that text you up and hit you up because you're probably the person that knows about soccer? I literally got like 10 different texts from people just be like, what is going on with this giant Super League? So before we start talking about our comments, hi Amy, how's it going? By the way, Amy's gonna be joining us today.
Back and forth.
Back and forth.
Live tweeting. Hello everybody.
Yes, she's the one to be part of it. So just so they know, who also got her first dose today. So if she all starts getting a little bit,
that's why my connection is so good today. I have half of my 5G, so I figure unlimited Wi-Fi. When I get
you're on the trial version.
Got the trial version right now.
Saludos, Alex Vadillo there. And all right, so let's get started. So in a very what is happening, and we'll go to Cesar and then Carlos. I'd love to hear your thoughts and kind of explaining the news that were just shook the world. Like everything was fine, and all of a sudden trending, everyone's going crazy. It's the end of the world. No more World Cup. Mexico's going to win the World Cup. Like all these things that are happening with the news. And Amy's going to give us the reactions in a bit on all the craziness that people have said. But first, let's just be serious about what it is. So Cesar.
Yeah. It's important to talk about just because, obviously it was some of the biggest soccer news we've seen in quite some time. So I think it's important to bring it up and the implications of what can happen in the Mexican soccer world. But and just in general, after years of rumors, 12 of Europe's biggest clubs announced a breakaway competition. And despite what any of their statements have said so far, it's quite clear that it's supposed to be a rival to the Champions League or to rival the Champions League. And the idea is for them to stay in their domestic leagues while also playing midweek Super League matches. So obviously there's some problems there. Obviously UEFA isn't happy. A lot of football associations across Europe aren't happy. Even politicians are denouncing it. There are fans who don't like the setup as well, where 15 founding members, wouldn't be relegated, and 5 non-permanent members would be rotating in and out based off of a qualification setup that hasn't been set up yet. But yeah, I think a lot of people are freaking out about that. I think a lot of people are also wondering what that means for Mexican soccer, what that means for even Liga MX and MLS, because people have been looking at what's happened at Super League and wondering what does that mean for an MLS Liga MX partnership. But yeah, in general, it's been a wild 24 hours, hasn't it? It's just people have been really justifiably losing their minds over the last 24 hours.
It's already the banter, right? 11 of biggest clubs plus Tottenham. So, it's hilarious.
Actually, I'm gonna be the hater in that club, because it's not even that, because Chelsea and Manchester City are not big clubs. They're rich clubs. It's not
Dude,
the same.
Arsenal's over there. Like, bro, you guys are struggling in Europa League. We haven't qualified for Champions.
But at least Arsenal has enough history and titles to back up being a big club, even though they're doing horrible.
Even then, Arsenal fans are like, "What are you doing?"
Chelsea and Manchester City, like 10 years ago, they didn't exist. Like maybe 10, but like 20 years ago, they were not even in Champions League. So it is very obvious that it's the richest clubs in Europe, like getting into the helm here.
There it is. Carlos, tell us what your thoughts. Obviously, Cesar kind of summed it up on it, but let's start going into the reactions and especially in your world, right? I mean, it affects everybody, right? From fans, journalists, commentators on what that could be, especially when the World Cup is in, the implications of players might not be able to go.
I mean, on my personal perspective, I don't dislike the idea of the Super League. I don't like the execution.
Yeah.
To me, they're two different things, because the first thing that I feel like led to this problem was we have way too many competitions. UEFA making and let's start with the clubs one, having the Europa League, and now they have a new one that is called the Conference League, and then you're gonna have the Champions League, and you're gonna add more teams to the Champions League. That actually, I think, diminishes how good it is. It's better. I think they can involve the same amount of teams and have those preliminary rounds until you get to 16, 20 teams that actually play for the Champions League. Maybe go straight in like Europa League does, where they have that little progression before the group stage, and then jump on a round of 32. And I think those elimination matches will be a lot more interesting. I think that's a little bit of what happens first. Then the biggest problem of why the teams are where they are, and Florentino Perez, when he went on the Chiringuito today, was talking about how the pandemic accelerated this process. Truth is that these teams brought it on themselves too. I mean, they're the ones who blew up the market with these ridiculous signings and how much they pay players. And we talked about it. I had this discussion on Twitter all the time where Messi makes 15% of all the earnings of Barcelona. That can't be. I'm not saying Messi doesn't deserve it. That's a whole different conversation. But as a business, you can't put 15% of everything on just one asset when you have so many people working for the club. Of course, you're going to run into a financial burden at some point. And I was seeing people today that Leeds United had that problem 15, 16 years ago, and they had to get relegated. And they little by little started coming back, because at the end of the day, soccer is a business where even if you lose a lot of money, you can always come back, because that franchise never completely disappears, and there's a lot of ways to save it. So I don't dislike the idea that the biggest clubs will bring and they bring a lot of revenue. And on the other side was also UEFA and FIFA, right? Like they do gather a lot of money. FIFA distributes a lot of it, but still saves some. And that's part of the conversation why we always ask for more money for the women's game, for example, because they have money sitting there that it's supposed to be, in case of emergency to save federations and whatever, but still sitting there, and you can add more to it. And that's on one side. And UEFA has the same problem. When they have the richest clubs in the world that have so many fans, and all over the world, people look at them, they can distribute it better. And they can distribute better with the smaller teams. They can distribute better with the bigger teams. And that's part of the problem of why we're where we are right now. I don't like the fact that they want to separate and have the money on their own. And then Florentino come and saying that they're going to save football and help the other teams. If UEFA, which is a federation that it's created to do that, hasn't done it, for me, the biggest teams in the world actually going like, here's the money that you need, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
they're looking after their best interest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, if we're looking from the outside, it's like, well, I understand that you want to make more money, but that's not how soccer should be run.
Amy, going to you as far as reactions that you've seen, because when we were trying to get ready for this, it's like we went off about 10 minutes of how people are just kind of freaking out. I mean, some Twitter accounts are already putting Hector Herrera is not going to be at the World Cup. I mean, it's kind of everyone's just taking out left and right and just kind of making speculations, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different areas of preference to this. I think, like Carlos is saying, right, the execution of it has just been terrible. I mean, he mentioned the women's, right? They pushed the women as an afterthought. They had the announcement. They're like, by the way, here's all the 12 clubs, all the 12 teams had their own press announcement. here in the US, it was around what, like 3-4 o'clock, Pacific Standard Time. But, in Europe, it was like the middle of the night. So there was a very deliberate and almost like villainous approach to it. So everybody was talking about that fact. A lot of people are saying we understand that it is a business, but this isn't how soccer itself is supposed to be treated, where you're basically pushing everything in your favor. Like we just joked about it. Arsenal hasn't been in Champions League for a while, and to create kind of this area where they don't even have to qualify, it leaves a really bad taste, at least for Arsenal fans, a lot of different fans. I mean, there's tons of protest, and the crazy thing is that like coaches are upset. You heard Klopp, you heard Bielsa today talking about this is not how it's supposed to work. So there's a lot of that opinion, just like this is not good. And the people that do think it's good are obviously people who are looking at it from a really bad economic perspective, at least in my opinion. It's a lot of people here in U.S. soccer here in the U.S. that suddenly are soccer experts, and they have these opinions about what, the biggest leagues or the biggest teams are supposed to be doing. So it's funny to see that intersectionality just come to fruition and hear people's bad takes on this.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I think some fans are wondering, okay, so what does this mean for Mexican soccer? What does this mean for Liga MX MLS? We'll see with the Herrera situation. Obviously, there's the reports and rumors are coming in really, really fast. I'm sure there are more updates right now about some sort of FIFA official or some sort of UEFA official saying that, through some sort of report that they can say a certain player can't take part in a World Cup, or certain clubs will be kicked out of the Champions League. Things are happening very, very quickly. So we'll see what happens with Herrera. But I know they're entirely different scenarios, and I think at the same time, most fans, especially in North America, can't help but look at what's happening in Europe and wondering, is there a correlation between what's happening in Liga MX and MLS? And I think for casual supporters, maybe they're making more so those collaborations or the correlations. But I think in reality, they're very, very different scenarios.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this before we started recording. I try to say this like without being biased in any way, but my understanding of what we've been hearing about this merger of an eventual MLS Liga MX thing, it doesn't sound as villainous or as like terrible. Like there is still an economic priority to it, right? Obviously, but the way that we've been able to kind of just dissect it and look at the way it's supposed to be, it doesn't sound like we're gonna get a press release in the middle of the night in like a few years.
Yeah, and I think for what we don't have no idea how far the Liga MX MLS partnership is also going to go. I mean, if I were to take a guess, I think we're going to still see the Campeones Cup. We're going to see the expansion of the Leagues Cup, and the next step would be having interleague games. And it would look something like the MLB, where teams would still be in their, for the most part, in their respective leagues. You'll see some interleague games. That's about it. But the thing is, like, even if there is unification, I think, like, it's kind of alludes to what Carlos was saying earlier, but I think I like the idea. I think it's all about how they pull it off. And I think MLS Liga MX could learn a lot from the mistakes that the Super League have made. Maybe you add in some sort of promotion and relegation, that's better. If you allow teams to take part in Libertadores as well, but the CC, I think you can make it work. I really think you can make it work.
I think the biggest difference between a merger that could happen between Mexico and the US and what we're seeing in Europe is that, one, we don't have power teams like that one. We just don't have clubs that are that rich, first. And second, this is a lot of countries, and the problem. No, they want more. They're the biggest. They're the 5 biggest leagues in Europe because they still having those 6, the 6 from England, and you have the ones from Spain. You have the ones from Italy. They wanted to bring, But I'm saying in general, the cluster of revenue that there's of teams in Europe, it's nowhere close to what we have in North America, and that's just a sad truth. Like the powerhouses in Central America, like Olimpia or Municipal in Guatemala, don't have the economic power that Ajax has, for example.
Yeah.
Or a Leeds United or a Leicester City, which are not even considered on the top, but they have big money backing them up, and they're just not at that level. So that's the first thing. And the second one is that the Mexico market is a very unique place. We are the only country in the world that has fandom in 2 different countries, and at that extent and at that amount of how many people buy the shirts and how many people go to the stadium and spend money. That doesn't happen anywhere. Real Madrid fans might be all over the place, but it's not the same going to have a game in Madrid like having in Liverpool. Mm-hmm. You might find some people that will be enticed to go to the game, but it's not. They are actually Real Madrid fans. So I think those things are what make it very unique on the perspective of how the MLS and the Liga MX could potentially fuse and do something bigger.
It's interesting to see everybody's reactions, and I haven't seen anybody that's like, this is a good idea. Like, aside from, and I'll say Alexi Lalas, who's saying it's, the businesses are going to do what they're going to do.
Did ever get back to you about banning him, by the way?
No, I sent them a couple messages, and as soon as they banned Trump, they could have banned him.
But we know that there are certain accounts that they have, anger engagement, I guess you can call it. And I think that's I mean, honestly, I think that's part of the process for some people. So I'm not that surprised by it.
Yeah, but there's like I when you go look into it, the way that it was kind of, hey, they're losing money, paying for the Cristiano Ronaldos and Messis of the world, and is not making them a lot of money, and this is their chance to come back and say, F you FIFA, and we're gonna do our own. But they're kind of doing what FIFA's doing, so now they want the control, which ultimately is just a power grab, right? And we're seeing a lot of, just like you've all said, a lot of fans that are going to be, for example, the Europa League. What would happen to that? I mean, not saying it's the most exciting anyway, but those were teams that weren't good enough to be at the Champions League that could go to something like this. And at the end of the day, what is it that they're trying to do? What do they just want, this amazing Super League that can take over the World Cup in a sense?
Well, they want to make more money. I mean, they want to make more. That's all it is in the end. I mean, and that's why they want more control over. They want more control. They want more control over broadcast rights. They want more control over commercial deals. They realize they can make more money through this league. And if you're a team like, I'm not justifying this decision, but if you're a team like Barcelona who has a lot of debt, you'd look at this and be like, yeah, I mean, if you can make more money, then it makes sense to an extent. But obviously, yeah, it's
wasn't Real Madrid the ones that like started the Champions League, Carlos? Like,
the Champions League, funny enough, the Cup of Europe in 1966 started with Real Madrid.
With Real Madrid saying we're doing this and we're going to start.
Santiago Bernabeu was the one in charge of creating the Champions League. Then in 1992 there was that split, and they reformed the format to have a group stage and make it more like a World Cup.
Yeah. We need a TikTok, by the way, Carlos, of the.
Okay. I'm shooting one after we're done about the pros and cons of the Superliga and the 101.
So what are the pros?
There is a lot of pros for the teams involved, and that's I actually found a lot of people who actually like the idea because.
They're one of those theory though. Aren't the pros more in theory and giving? I mean, you can go ahead and explain them, but isn't it more like giving that benefit of the doubt to them, kind of?
No, there's objective pros that will fix some things, and the only part that becomes theoretical is what moves behind it from UEFA. Because, for example, I feel like if let's say they actually create the league and they start playing and they have full control of the money and the money comes into them. First of all, you'll have those powerhouses on the money side working on their black numbers, right? That they're not going to see red numbers, or they're actually going to make a profit because they're trying to incorporate kind of like the system that they have in the US. I think a lot of it has to do with the main owners involved with this, which is the owners from Manchester United, from Arsenal. They're American owners, and they're trying to emulate what you see in the NFL, for example, and how do they distribute that. Which, in a sense, again, objectively, that makes a lot of money for the teams, and that would be a good thing. My problem is that it's only these 12 teams.
Yeah.
But objectively, that way of sharing the revenue is something that Europe hasn't existed. The reason why these teams became powerhouses is because for years, and when the Premier League started, which another breakaway league was the Premier League. The Premier League started because the big teams decided that they wanted to have a separate TV deal. And they separated from the FA, and they separated from what it was called the Football League at that point, and that's how the Premier League started. And because of that, it took 10 or 15 years for the revenue to be shared across properly, because most of the time, the Manchester Uniteds, the Arsenals, the Liverpools were getting more money than the rest of the teams. So that's something that has to be fixed in Europe. That you see it with Spain. Spain is Real Madrid, Barcelona, and the rest, we don't care. Here's your money. Even then, now they want more money. And to me, that's where the richer become richer and it becomes a problem. But there are pros on how that money should be. Like if we had, not in the control of the teams, but if we have this league and we get this revenue, which is a lot more revenue for this particular league, and it doesn't have to go through UEFA, we can distribute it evenly. And if they all agree that it's going to be distributed evenly, then that's where Amy's right, where it's theoretical. Like, we're going to assume that they're actually distributing it evenly. Because they have to come, at the end, they have to do what Real Madrid and Barcelona have been doing for the past 3-4 years, where they have to show, like, here's where the money's going.
Yeah, I think in the end, it's just like...
and the games will be more exciting. For real, the games will be more exciting. If you have a constant... every time you find the teams with the best players play each other, of course it will be more entertaining. That part you can't deny it either.
I think in the end, and we also playing devil's advocate here, we also shouldn't assume that like UEFA, FIFA are like completely squeaky clean in this scenario. In the end, it's all a battle between big money versus big money, and it sucks because players, managers, and most importantly fans, they're the ones who are stuck in this push and pull from those in charge, and at least for fans, from those who are where it's a realization, sometimes some teams may see you more as consumers than actually fans, but yeah, it's we'll see what actually happens. I mean, maybe some are even saying that it's a push just for leverage for these big teams, and we've seen like stuff like this in the past with these threats from the big teams, but this is the first time where you see an actual league and there seems to be some sort of framework. It's a loose framework, and we don't know what other 3 teams would join them. We don't know how the 5 teams would qualify, but it looks like this is quite a big threat now from the bigger clubs now.
I think also the in theory, like Carlos was saying, right, there is some objective points that could say, hey, okay, this could be, but even their press conference didn't exactly bring comfort. The talking points were just so far gone to the point that they're literally trying to say that there's not that many fans anymore in soccer. So it's like
they haven't made the best first impression.
But the thing is that I unfortunately have to agree with him in that sense. In general, soccer has taken a big hit. We don't see it because we're part of that Soccer League MX realm.
But I look at it like you're not even including the women's side. You're not even including fans that go.
No, but it's still there's a big gap because think about our age range. He said it very specifically. The kids between the ages of 16 and 24 don't care about sports anymore. And that's across the board. That's not just in soccer. They're not watching football. They're not watching MLB. They're not watching NBA.
But
because now
I think trying to say that soccer, like if there is a list of people in danger, soccer's like at the very top of like you're pretty much safer than like.
But
American
that's why they're
football.
trying to go into a more broader, global market, because that's what they're scared of. They're seeing on their leagues. You see when they put out and remember. These teams are also struggling where they're stuck in their league because yes, Real Madrid might have great numbers, but when they look at it's like every time we play Huesca, nobody's watching us, and even the selling of jerseys and whatever even though it's good, it has decreased. Like they're in against these areas because I might buy a lot of jerseys and you guys might do it too, and the 40-year-olds and the 50-year-olds like that still happens, and we're still part of their consumer. But they're thinking these people when they do business, they just think 10 years ahead, and they're like. There's a point where this guy is not going to be like, you're still going to be watching, but how am I going to attract more revenue for the people who are actually the ones that are going to start going into spending money? Because there's a point where you're like 34 years old where you don't really spend that money anymore. Like I'm probably, if I have kids and whatever, I'm not going to be as big as of a consumer of soccer as I am right now, except for watching it. But and that changes. Then I have to make my kids watch it. And that's where they're saying they're struggling. And that part is real. It's not, it's not like nobody's watching it, but there is a huge, like, steep decrease on that age group of being interested in sports, sitting in and watching it in long periods of time.
Sarah saying this is so true. Fandom is changing so much with the younger generation. Yeah, and I think could be a whole different topic in how everything. Do you really sit down and watch a show like without your phone or anything like that? I mean, I can't even do it because we're always tweeting. But I could just imagine anybody younger that's like, I really have to sit here for 2 hours just watching what you tell me to watch.
Is team number 13 for the Super League? Is it just gonna be a team made up of TikTokers? I'm gonna pitch the idea over to the Super League and just get a bunch of YouTubers for team number 14. I don't know what the kids are into these days.
They watch overtime in 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Burro saying everyone can also stop talking. Carlo has it perfect. You're a fan. The fan. He said that Carlos is a stop. So Burro, we will. We got to keep going. We got to get the conversation also going. Well, we'll see what happens. What are the next steps? I honestly, what's going to happen is hopefully they're gonna come to some type of an agreement. Was this just done so they can get more leverage on sharing of the funds coming up the next year? It's like, this is what we can do, FIFA. Come to the table. Either you want to lose big or you want to lose a little bit. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to have the World Cup. Hector Herrera is going to be there.
I guess it's if he's not injured.
I think, first of all, FIFA needs to be taken out of this picture, because actually FIFA has nothing to do with this, because the teams belong to UEFA. They belong to their federations, and FIFA has nothing to do with it, except the fact that they can, quote unquote, punish certain things. But that's not, that's not going to happen. They're just going to have an esports team. I mean, they already do. Like, that's what I'm saying. Most of these teams already have like full on esports professional players, and they gather a lot of revenue for them too. So, some things are moving that way, unfortunately. But I'm saying, like, FIFA, first of all, FIFA, it's not on the conversation, is UEFA. But UEFA has that problem. UEFA has its own corruption problems. We saw what happened with Michel Platini, the way they distribute also the money. But I think that leverage is not so much bluffing. They're ready to shoot if there's not an agreement. Yeah. Well, they're going to talk and have an agreement, because at the end of the day, that's what they're going to end up doing. Because I don't feel it's a good look for them. It's not sustainable either, because I think they know, and that's something that I have talked to people who are supporting them. Like, it'll be really exciting for the first 3-4 years. But I know you people. We had the Champions League for so long. We had the best teams in Europe playing each other, and you still have something to complain about. So when Manchester United and Real Madrid have played 15 times, you're going to be like, I don't know, bro. It's not that anymore. I don't think it's that exciting anymore.
Once again, we'll see what happens. Everybody just calm down. It is big news. It's crazy how it's done, and we'll see. We'll see what's going on, and we'll go into our next topic. But before we do that, there's some shout outs of things that have nothing to do with soccer. And the first one that comes out is saying, not gonna name names, but someone's lacking wall scarves. So
hey man, I got a Pokemon poster, and this
dang, really that's already better than all of our scarves.
And a really cool poster. 2018, I think it's 2018 World Cup thing here. I got
thing. It's a thing.
Well, it's like the nicknames of all the teams that participated in it. So I'll send
it. It is pretty cool.
I also got laundry out here for Albert, in case you were wondering, Nosy Nelly. It's called Motherhood. I can clean clothes and be on a podcast at the same time.
Albert saying, is that laundry in the background? Yes. Amy does the laundry.
Important question. The Pokemon, is it 1 through 151?
No, it's
is it 152? Is it the second? Are we seeing third generation? Very important question.
We got Pikachu with all of Eevee's evolvations.
Okay, yeah. I like it, yeah.
I don't know all their names.
Jolteon. Vaporeon. There's a new. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Nice.
I don't know. I stop at silver and gold. Everything after that, it's like, now they don't look like animals. Now it's just balls.
No, Alan, the scarves are on the floor because Ollie can't keep them up. That's why. Scarves are not on the wall.
That's it. And then the funniest comment of the night, we're gonna have like awards for the funniest comments. Where is it? Here we go. Cesar looks like the guy from No Country for Old Men with the long hair.
Rigo, don't be mean to Cesar. He looks great. Don't be
Should we be concerned though? In this scenario, what happened, right?
I mean, you guys don't know where
Javier Bardem, right? Is that his name? That's hilarious. Yes. And someone in there said that you have to have long hair in order to be in this podcast. So I guess that's how it is. Yeah. Anyway, the comments keep rolling. Whatever questions you guys have, we'll put on there too. So, all right. Let's just jump into our next topic. Would be, if I look at the rundown, Amy, is it Olympics?
I sent it to you twice, but
I know. I totally saw it.
That's Olympics. Let us know about the Olympics.
Well, Javier Bardem here. Just letting you guys know about the Olympic draw. So we're gonna have the Olympic draw on Wednesday. They're gonna be Mexico are in pot number 2 with Germany, Honduras, and Spain. So after the draw, there are going to be 4 groups of 4 teams with the top 2 going through to the knockout round. And it's pretty exciting to be prepping once again for Mexico in an Olympic run. I mean, I think there's some high hopes for this generation. And I think that, in general, there's been a discussion about the U.S. having such a promising young generation, but I think El Tri can kind of steal some of that narrative back for the CONCACAF region with a good showing. I mean, obviously, El Tri won gold in 2012. Things didn't go as planned in 2016, so it seems like there might be an opportunity here for a little bit of redemption, and it'll be. I mean, well, it's pretty exciting to see who Mexico is going to face. And shout out to the Colorful Kit, who retweeted something, I think it was yesterday, it might have been a few days back, but there was someone who calculated the odds for Olympic group draws, and it looks like Mexico has a pretty good chance of not being put in a group with Argentina or Brazil. So that could potentially be some good news for El Tri, and maybe they'll be put up against a Japan or a Korea Republic, and through that, maybe give them a good chance to go through the next round. But we'll see. Lie. We'll see what happens in pot 3 and pot 4 as well, because you still have France and Ivory Coast tend to do quite well in some of these youth tournaments sometimes. So yeah, something to keep an eye on, and it's pretty exciting. I mean, I'm genuinely thrilled. I'm not gonna lie.
I first saw this and I go, great, Mexico, Germany, Honduras, Spain. That's our group.
Or it's like like before every World Cup where they set up the pots and then people don't even think twice, and then they'll just see pot number 1 and be like, oh, that's a group of death. Jeez, like a pot 1, that's a group of death.
We're jotting stuff down for this year to do start content and whatever. And I, for some reason, I read it. Mexico, Germany again. Oh my gosh! You know how much content we can do because of Germany. And then it's like, oh wait, no, those are pots. Yeah. So for the good news on this is that we won't face Germany, Honduras, or Spain. And yes. If we win our group, we won't face them in the round of 16, right? I mean, right. So that's always that extra game that we can get to after the knockoff range, is that we won't face Germany, Honduras, and Spain if we win our group. And the odds are Brazil and Argentina. So we'll hopefully have a good easy group. Probably somebody in there will be good and qualify first. The best thing to do is qualify first. Again, it's the Olympics. We should try to face off, but interesting to see. I guess the draw, and it's tomorrow.
It'll be on Wednesday. I forget what time. I think they're doing it locally in Zurich time, so it's probably going to be 2 in the morning or something like that. But something to keep an eye on for Wednesday for the draw.
Carlos, are you going? Are you excited?
Yes.
Yeah. There we
go. Awesome.
I mean, there's still a lot of questions, but as of right now, yes, I am going to the Olympics, and now I'll be bringing you coverage from Tokyo. We just got. They give us these copy codes, which are
oh, nice,
cool.
They're not ceremonial. They're supposed to be for festivals. It actually started being as the clothing that the servants will use in the palace, and then with time it transformed into being the uniform for the firefighters, and then after that it became the clothes that you wear during festivals. So in this case, since it's a festival of sport, they gave us that with the Tokyo logo and hope. And
I'll send you a message later. Te encargo a few things from Tokyo since I'm not going anymore.
No, let's we asked for our to be a part of it, right? And because we're in the U.S., this was before the U.S. didn't get didn't go, so we were denied because there's a lot of U.S. journals. But we're not going to the World Cup anymore, so I figured there could be a couple of spots that could let me and Amy go, and we got denied anyway. So Carlos, you'll be 1/100th of the Mexican Soccer Show representing us there. I know we're not sending you over there, but I know
we expect hourly reports.
We're gonna do
no pay at all.
It's okay. You get a tweet a minute. and then content.
Just bring me back ramen, please.
Sounds good. I mean, I'll see. We'll have to see with the guidelines of what they let me bring in and bring out, because I was already expecting to take.
No, you're Mexican. You're Mexican.
Necesito un poquito de mecate nada más para la caja y todo bien.
There we go. All right, so Olympics, we'll get that on the draw, and we will figure out.
The one thing for the Olympics that is important to note is that the European teams, they're under 21 teams. I mean, to me, that makes a big difference in the sense of the Mexican national team, specifically the ones that go to Olympics, and I think this one in particular compared to other years, they have a lot of minutes in first division. Most of them are actual, day-to-day starters in the Mexican league. And when you come to play in the Olympics and in that age range with players that don't have the same experience, it makes a difference. So I think that's one of the advantages that Mexico has, and even on the powerhouses from Europe, because even though these kids have a lot of talent, Germany, France, Romania, and Spain, they're all under 21 players. So those 2-3 year difference still on that development stage makes a big difference. So hopefully it's not like 2016 and they can get some good results.
I hope we get to at least the semifinals, and we'll see where it's at. The overage players, I had a tweet in there that we should just take Chicharito if he keeps on his form, but we'll talk about that a little later. We'll see. We'll see what's at. All right, continuing with the talk. Mexicans abroad. Amy, are we good? Is that the next topic?
Yes, you're good to go.
Yes, you go. And because I just looked at the rundown that I was sent over, and that was 4/19's rundown. So yeah,
it's April 19th. What month is April?
But I'm looking at the rundown right now, and it says CCL.
So March.
Yeah, CCL 1 recap and leg 2 preview.
And you got 5. That's May.
Look at it. All right. So this is what happens when we talk to each other every single day. Let's talk about Mexicans abroad. Cesar. Mexico para el mundo, champions.
I mean, it's a very big moment in his young career. Edson Alvarez winning his first European title with Ajax. They won the Dutch Cup, the KNVB Cup. It's something that's well deserved because I feel like, it also actually, what I should say is that it says a lot about the patience we need to have sometimes with these players abroad. We've seen it with Raul Jimenez. He needed a few years to really find his footing. Edson Alvarez, obviously, it's been a shorter amount of time, but it seems like it wasn't too long ago when we were worried about minutes for him, wondering if he would move to another team in Europe or maybe even come back to Liga MX. And he eventually not only became a starter, but a key figure for Ajax. And I would after games, I would genuinely love looking up his name on Twitter and then hitting Google Translate on Dutch fan tweets who are praising him a lot these days. So, congratulations to him, and obviously good news for El3 because, this isn't just a young up-and-coming player for El3, but someone who plays in a very, very crucial position as a defensive midfielder who needs to step back between the two center backs, someone who provides a lot of distribution going forward, who needs to really, really do a lot of defensive work for those two attacking midfielders in front of him. So excellent news for Ajax, excellent news for Edson Alvarez, and good news for El3. So congratulations to Edson.
Yeah. Not a lot of people, especially with what's happening with a lot of Mexicans abroad, it feels like it's not that crazy of a year of everyone doing well, even though Hector Herrera might win the league. You have Diego Lainez, Guardados didn't get to start or play in that matter, but always winning a championship. And we'll see. Another Mexicans abroad, and it's not to talk about, a lot of people say they're not necessarily abroad, but the MLS started, and there's very exciting games, lots and lots of goals, but specifically everyone's talking about Mr. Chicharito Hernandez, and we'll talk about Carlos Vela, but we'll start with you, Mr. Carlos. Is Chicha's first 2 goals and how much it meant for Chicharito to come out swinging and scoring and just seeing the old happy Chicharito for what a year that he had last year?
I think it was huge, especially for him. I think more than any, because regardless of what the media says and what we could, the pressure we can put on him, just the fact that he performed, and I feel like he had that confidence, right? This is me. This is what I've always been doing. That's what I came to do. And there has to be something in your head when you think I'm in the MLS, so I've been able to succeed in other leagues in Europe that have a lot of more pressure, so I should be able to do it here. And to me that first goal, it's very good, but the second one is just when that his luck and everything is back.
Yeah, especially that. I thought his first goal was great, and just shows what Chicharito's all about: getting right behind the defender and then sneaking up and doing it. And you know he wasn't done. I mean, in everywhere that he was doing, it was good to see him. And I know that people call us Chicharito lovers here, but we always have that. It's good when Chicharito's scoring and he feels good because it's going to somehow transfer to the national team. And
he's a high profile player. He's someone that if he really does have an excellent season or a good run of form this year, then you're looking at Mexico's striker situation. You can see him getting minutes. I think that's the reality. I would expect the same if Pulido ended up having a really, really incredible 2021. Then you got to look to El3 and think, all right, where does he fit here? We're not saying Chicharito is gonna. If Raul Jimenez is fit, we're not saying that Chicharito is gonna get more minutes or has a more significant role. But Mexico is gonna be taking part in a lot of games in 2021. They're gonna need to work on some of their depth here. And Chicharito, maybe you're not saying he's number 2 in line, but if he has a good season, maybe he's number 3, and you can see his confidence at the end of the second half there. And also, I think it's always interesting too with someone like him who's so emotionally open and honest, and I've always really appreciated that about him and his career, and it was definitely kind of touching. After this recent game, the 3-2 win for the Galaxy over Miami. Where he was dedicating his goal, the goals to his, grandfather who passed away. He was thinking about his kids. It looked like he was about to break down and cry. And you can't help but root for him, So I'm genuinely thrilled to see him score 2 goals, and it's 2 goals which equal his tally from 2020.
Thank you to LA Galaxy for giving us some cool little highlights. Please don't give us a copyright. When I was watching this goal, you see Chicharito kind of pretend that he's heading the ball if he's hitting it. Check him out, in the corner up there. He's like, ugh! And he kind of jumps with him when he gets in, and obviously he gets the rebound. But check him out. You can see him in the corner. Obviously the kick is out there, ball's out there, and Chicharito kind of jumps like he's about to head it in, and then he comes in. Anyways.
That second goal was such a classic Chicharito goal too, wasn't it? Just him being at the right place at the right time, and then just being about 3 inches away from the net. Definitely classic goal but you can't help but root for him. But obviously, we're not saying, I know a lot of us like to get excited about it, but we're not saying because he has 2 goals that, call him up to 3, bring him back. But I at least I'm not saying that. I think he needs to have a good run of form through an extended period of time. I think he still has something to prove, despite the fact that he's the all-time leading goal scorer for all 3, but he needs to show that he's able to be playing. I mean, we talked about before we started recording, earlier today, but he needs to be putting up some numbers like Carlos Vela. I think those are the expectations they have of him, and you really, and now we're seeing that video about Vela, but I think he has high expectations and he needs to follow through with them.
What happened with Vela, Amy?
Oh, we're done talking about Chicharito. We didn't even. The man just had a very emotional moment, and we're praising him, and you just disregard his momentum.
We're talking about we gotta keep the show rolling. Mexicans abroad, Carlos Vela. On the other hand, confused. What happened?
So he goes for a ball inside the box, overstretches himself. He does look uncomfortable once he finishes that play. I guess he signals for the staff to go and check on him, and Bob Bradley takes that as he wants to be subbed out, and there's just a miscommunication, and so he subs him out, and that's the end of his game. Now, not credit, but in Bob Bradley's defense, a lot of people were saying that this kind of felt like that game against LA Galaxy last season when he did the same thing. He kind of had a knock, and then he just didn't feel right, and then he was out for the rest of the game. But yeah, it was a mess. Vela left before we even really got to see him play. The intensity did go down, but I guess as an LAFC fan, or even for Bob Bradley, it didn't cost him anything. They still ended up winning the game 2-0 against Austin. But I mean,
my favorite part was having, because that's something that only happens in MLS, but having Bob Bradley right after with the headset being like, yeah, I might jump the gun.
Okay,
that was pretty funny.
But does that happen?
What's your stance on mid-game interviews?
No, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like it either.
He's in the middle of the game, and you're like, all right, they're like producers in someone's ear, like, give him the headphones. Give him the headphones. We need to know what.
Yeah, they don't even know. They just hear somebody. So it's not like they can see the interaction about what's going to happen. The question is going to happen. They're just kind of like, all right, I guess that's the question.
Yeah, and there's two main problems with it. First, if I was coaching, I would hate it just because you're like so into the game that it's like I don't have time to like do anything else. Like I'm actually working, right? Let's say that's standard, and you have to. You also, what are the chances they're actually going to tell you something significant? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like in those moments, and if it happens, and I've suffered. I mean, you guys too, but I suffered from that so many times where it's like, am I really gonna go do these reacts? Like, hey, so why are this? It was a good game. But it's always the same. Like, they're gonna give you the same answer. Sometimes you need them, and that's fine. Well, I'll get the same answer and get it over with. Sometimes you happen to know the player, and that's when you actually do better. But do you seriously think that a coach is gonna take the time to be like, you know what, we're not pressuring high enough? Like, no, they're not gonna tell you that.
You have somebody on their team. Bob Bradley just said they're gonna pressure high enough. Go, go, go. It's like, of course you're not gonna say that. It happens NBA, NFL. It's those times
it's
where
like baseball and NFL makes sense because, I mean, the play stops. They're not telling you what they're gonna call, and there's 40 seconds where they're not doing anything. So you can fill up the time, and it's fine. This is literally you're looking at the game as it's progressing. Like, excuse me, why are you like? You're not gonna do that.
It's true.
I understand. Pretty funny, like where he says, Bob Bradley's like, yeah, I might have jumped the gun. That might be my fault. I'm not sure. He gave us a sign early on that needed to come off, I thought. So I can't say any more than that.
But the fact that he actually said that's what makes that interview. I hate the fact that they do it, but the fact that he was like honest about like, yeah, but whatever.
Yeah.
Carlos, you played. I mean, does that happen when there's some miscommunications with you and the staffing team? I would think that you would go, no, I don't want to go. I don't know. I mean,
but from what I saw, the speed at what it happened. First the Favela actually looked really uncomfortable and that asked to get checked. But it was just like this one of those things. It's still a huge miscommunication because Bradley just like goes like, oh, he definitely needs to come out because usually, and this is something that you do that you shouldn't, and you see it when people get concussions, when they have bad injuries.
Yeah.
99% of the time, and it happened when you're playing, like when you get injured and you're injured, you still tell the coach, no, let me try. It's like you have a torn ACL. Why with me? You're gonna try. It's like, no, I think I can. And then you run 2 times and you're like, no, I'm done. But here it was just funny that he didn't even get to that, that process of like, let me try. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I played high school soccer. Why didn't you ask me? What's wrong with is there a difference between the level that Carlos was at in my high school soccer? Did it make it onto my varsity team until my senior year? Because I was not that good.
Sorry, man. Sorry. Next time I'll go to you in any soccer contest. We'll do that way.
I feel bad because with that intro, Sister made me feel like if I had been his coach, I would have cut him.
Carlos isn't allowed to play rec league games with us. He's just gonna think we're all trash.
The cool thing is that we have Carlos in our team.
Look, for what it's worth, Carlos, I am trash. All right, I am a much more pathetic poacher than like anyone else in the entire world. Okay.
What if we now have high expectations for Carlos, though?
It's backwards.
We already have high expectations for Carlos. Carlos plays.
Carlos is perfect. The chat thinks so. Like,
all I'm saying is
I'm gonna show up there, miss a couple of shots, and you guys are gonna be like, "Are you professional, bro?"
All I'm saying is that Carlos already joined this Mexican soccer show, so therefore, when we come and we play against all the other pods, we claim Carlos, so we should be.
Carlos is also like you said he was like 5'11" or 6'1", so that's like already like 40 inches taller than the rest of us. So
this is the Mexican short show, Yeah. TMS doesn't start for soccer; it starts for short. Like, I know Tom left and we got a little bit taller, but other than that,
I'm still here. For what it's worth, I keep the ratio down because I'm still here. So. Tom's not even on the pod. Stop being mean to him.
I know. I can be mean because he left me. We'll see. All right. Other Mexicans abroad before we go to Carlos. Hey, I know people hate Rodolfo Pizarro, but I thought he had a really good game.
He did.
Good first half.
That wasn't a PK, but good first half.
I thought it was a good first half. Everything ran to him. If there was anything that comes in, one of the Higuains was going to do something. And it came. I'll be honest, I didn't know the other Higuain was there, and I was yelling at the announcer saying, "That's not Higuain." Oh wait, that is. Oh my gosh! So that's so much I pay attention to the team that I have the only MLS jersey on, by the way. Yeah. So apologies, but Rodolfo Pizarro, I think, did well. Hopefully, we see the Rodolfo we saw and take ownership in that team. And I know it's a transition team with the new coach, and we'll see the pressure that Beckham gives Rodolfo. So,
which I'm sure the new coach Amy has a lot of, you know.
Yeah, you were laughing, right? Your boy.
Everybody's. I love women's soccer Twitter because they're like, maybe we shouldn't give Phil Neville a chance at every English women's fan ever for the last like 5 years. I still find it hilarious. I just find it hilarious how this. Well, I mean, MLS in general, people give it a lot of. I mean, Cesar, Carlos, and I are fans. We still sometimes tolerate it, but you know, it's just like this is the only place that this can happen.
Jersey.
We're like Phil Neville is the coach. You got two Higuains on the team. Pizarro's there for some reason, and it's just.
And then there's a whole 4DP. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a 4DP situation, and then they had to like put some player on loan to like a lower league team. Yeah, it's a mess.
That stadium is nice though. It feels like it's gonna like fall apart if there's some kind of like wind damage or something.
Well, speaking of the stadium, and this is something that I've noticed. It's not official, but I've noticed that I think there's a template for stadiums on the MLS when you're just starting, because the San Jose Earthquake Stadium, the RGV Toros Stadium, and the Miami FC Stadium, they all have the same layout and they're built exactly the same.
It's MLS, like it's the cookie cutter. Like you have to look at the jerseys. Look at the jerseys.
Yeah, the jerseys.
Wow. Look at your jersey.
Yeah, look at, like we talked about. Amy and I were like, man, you know, like these new teams, they all just look so perfectly. Like I'm come from a marketing background with the marketing jersey, and it's like the aesthetics and everything about the MLS side. When you're saying it, even the stadiums, they're like, we have to build it this way.
I think some of the new.
I think it looks good though. It looks good.
Well, the Austin and the LAFC stadium are nice. And
I was gonna say, I don't think it's cookie. Yeah, because some of the new stadiums. I mean, it looks like Columbus's Crew Stadium is gonna be like pretty nice. Like you have the Austin, but anywho, that's probably not.
They're tiny though. They're tiny stadiums.
Well, I mean, it's MLS.
There it is. Well, I'm just saying they're tiny stadiums, but they have giant stadiums that people can go and play. You know, World Cup is going to come. We'll see. Let's talk about Chivas del Norte. Otherwise, San Jose Earthquakes. We're just
Carlos, we threw that in there because you were on the pod today.
That's awesome. That's a triple whammy right there.
Bam! We did our homework. So, anyways, is Rigo still on? How about Vado? I know Rigo was on earlier, but anyway.
How's trophies, Carlos?
How's trophies, Carlos? Dinos.
Besides throwing flying kicks during the game, I think he looks more in shape, which that's already like a huge plus.
He's a professional player.
No, but that's the whole point. You can make the same comment.
Hey, Tecatito had an off season. I mean, I thought Higuain looked a little bigger. I'm sorry, but I was like, wait, that's a player.
But he was already doing that since Juventus. That's one of the reasons why he's here.
It's true. But anyway, yeah, go back to trophies.
In general, I think the team looked disconnected at times. There was at least 3 or 4 times where they brought the ball back, you know, from the back. Well, they open it up. Usually, when they find Cristian Espinosa, that's when you look, you know, the most dangerous. I'm not sure about having Kate Cowell as a forward. That also didn't help. I think the most solid one there, I think Carlos Fierro is just very solid. It's just not flashy. It's not anything out of this world, but especially on the team when he wasn't, you know, when he was struggling, you have Alanis trying to help out, but it's like Alanis, it's cut by having, and I say this with the most respect for him, but John Ward has to be, you know, one of the worst center backs in the league. So for you to not be that fast, because Osvaldo's never been, you know, a fast player, and not have somebody to rely on the other side, you know, it makes it tough. But I still think that the Quakes are just going to be that roller coaster they were last year. I don't think they looked, for a 2-1 loss, they didn't look that terrible, but it was the Houston Dynamo. So we'll see when they have to play the LAFCs, when they have to play the Galaxies, how they look. But I hope the progression, it's always, you know, after, and that specifically the preseasons that Matias Almeida puts them through, you're always stiff when you just start the season. Everything still hurts, so it takes at least a couple of weeks to, you know, get your gears running.
Well, there's the answer on trophies. That's it. There you go. Really quick, David Copeland saying Populous is the architecture firm for most of the stadiums in MLS, so they can just copy paste. So there it is. All right, so let's talk about. It was a good week in MLS. Great. We'll continue going. I know the Tráfico's in a couple of weeks, right? So looking forward to see Vela versus Chicharito, and we'll do that. But let's talk about Liga MX. The big game that was advertised, that was supposed to be the biggest game of the century. Finally, the number one, number two. I mean, everything was coming in, and it just kind of like we're.
Yeah. I don't know how everybody else felt, or people in the chat, or Carlos, but I don't know. I maybe I hyped it up a little too much in my own mind.
Everybody hyped it up.
I think, and I think even the teams themselves are fans of both teams, because like America will feel bummed out that they couldn't hold on to the lead. Cruz Azul fans might feel a little bummed out that they couldn't set the record for the winning streak. And Liga MX fans will feel a little disappointed. I mean, I was expecting some fireworks. I mean, I know we saw the controversial penalty as well, but I don't know. I don't know why I was expecting a little bit more from this match. I mean, I guess if you would look at Cruz Azul's recent results, you would see that they do actually have narrow results, and a lot of them have been narrow wins for them. But I don't know. I expected a bit more. I was a little let down, and I think even fans of both teams will probably feel a little disappointed with this result.
Leon fans were happy, so I mean, I'm gonna do that because they didn't get the record. We're cool, so.
Well, and Necaxa fans, right? Was it from like what is it from? They had that. It was like the part of the record was from like 1930 something like that. I don't remember. Anywho.
Dang, you, Ozil, and Eva Longoria suddenly care about Necaxa fans. I don't know.
We Kate
also, I just want to point out that. Just want to point out that Leon is tied with Juarez right now, 0-0. So if you want to talk about boring games, we could just turn on the channel.
I didn't say it was boring. I
said it was underwhelming because you had such high expectations.
No, everyone was talking about this game. Everyone was saying it, how this is the game. And even, you're tuning in and it would look like, and am I wrong, Carlos, is saying that these teams didn't want to go out there and risk enough. They wanted to study each other because they're going to be facing, this is the team that they both have to beat. Why go out if you don't need to? And it was, we should have saw that. And nobody.
I told Cesar that this didn't matter, that at the, it didn't really matter because if they broke the streak, it didn't matter. If America lost, it didn't matter. I was content. I didn't care. It was fine.
I had the advantage that the game happened a couple of hours after Chivas, so obviously I had to hype Chivas first. So I didn't hype that game at all. But yeah, I mean, it's exactly what Wiso said. They're not gonna do anything spectacular, thinking that you're almost done. It's. I feel like sometimes when they put the calendars, it's hard to predict it because it could either be a really exciting game because they're both fighting to, place themselves better. But if they're both up there, I feel like that game should have been a little, you should try to put those games when they're still fighting for the points and not when they're so established, at the top of the league. So, it was. That's exactly what it was. But it's still, I think it was a good result for both because they don't take points away for each other, and then you still manage to have the 1 and 2 spots in the league.
How many 0-0s did we see? It was a lot of 0-0s this weekend.
Except for Chivas.
Who wasn't 0-0 was Puebla.
Necaxa.
Chivas won.
Necaxa, Querétaro, Mazatlán, Atlas, Pumas, Tigres.
Friday was off to a slow start.
Leon
I missed the 2 games. I missed Puebla, San Luis. I missed 5 goals. I missed whatever happened in Rayados Pachuca last night because I was looking at SofaScore and it was like, was VAR used 11 times? I don't know. I haven't watched the highlights yet, but apparently I missed out on some drama last night at Rayados versus Pachuca and on San Luis versus Puebla. The only 2 games I didn't really keep an eye on. Yeah, I know. Watching Pumas get a 0-0 draw with Tigres. At the very least, Santos Necaxa was fun. That was tough. I really, really enjoyed that one. It was entertaining. Cool to see Santi Munoz get 3 assists, even though it would be more like 1.75 assists when one hit him in the face, and another one was not technically.
The face one was my favorite.
Yeah, but technically we're giving him 3 assists, but also good to see Lalo Aguirre get a brace for Santos. But yeah, I mean, and
he
also
was finally beating teams that are about to get the coaches. And so, that's the only teams that they can beat. And
Also, really quickly, Xolos today announced Robert Dante Siboldi will be the new manager. He has a 1-year contract. looks like he's going to try to do some simple, straightforward tactics for Xolos in their last 2 games of the season, not only to potentially qualify for the playoffs, but to also potentially avoid the bottom 3 of the, I don't want to call it the relegation table, the quotient table, because that would be the literal translation, right? For like the quotient table. Yeah. So they're going to try to avoid the bottom 3 of the fine, and then the fine tip. That sounds weird.
I want the job security of recycled Liga MX coaches.
Siboldi's okay though. I'm not.
I
think if you're a Xolos fan,
it's all right.
He's okay.
No, but I think specifically in Siboldi, he's only done bad, which I never understood why he took that job in Veracruz.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
Everybody does bad in Veracruz.
Well, I never understood why he took that job, because he did well in Santos. He was champion. Because he did well. I mean, besides what happened on the last game, there's a difference between doing well and crashing out on the semifinal. I think it's going to be good for Xolos. I think it's a coach that works well and gets results. But to Emmy's point, it's still however, he's not really part of that. He's part of the new recycle. This is not a Profe Cruz, Sergio Bueno.
When you go part of the 3rd generation of recycled coaches, or whatever my equivalent is of recycle, I just want that job. Imagine there's got to be what are those things called? I wasn't that old, but I wasn't that young, but that thing where you put people's
Rolodex.
Yeah, the Rolodex. There's got to be one out there. All right, who haven't we talked to in a while? Let's go ahead.
You're not that young. There were Rolodex in 2010.
I know. That's why I said I said that. I said, calm down. You're the one that calls people boomers that are your age. So
that was younger than me. I called somebody a boomer. That was funny. That was somebody. I couldn't get Bad Bunny tickets, and then they're like, "You really listen to that?" And I was like, "Okay, boomer." All right.
And then of course we got a quick limit because Carlos is on. Chivas getting the 2-0 win over Xolos. Obviously that was a Xolos side that had their
interim coaches. That's
and it could have been. It could have been like 6 or 7. Honestly, They missed at least 3-5 wide open opportunities. I think Benny Diaz was fantastic in at least 3 or 4 saves. I think it was good for Chivas to see that they can, right? Because there was nothing different, or I guess I feel it was a little more offensive in the way they set up the team, and to me that makes the biggest difference. I think the game against Cruz Azul particularly, it was not so much what he was putting on the field; it's just how far back he was waiting to do those counterattacks, and it was just not working out. This one they did it. Obviously, you have an interim coach who didn't know how to react to it, and he just, he got the result.
Yeah, and keep an eye on Benny Diaz. Obviously, because I'm Mexican American, I love to hype up Mexican Americans. But yeah, Mexican American kid playing for Xolos recently made his Liga MX debut this season, and someone to keep an eye on. And he's definitely done a decent job, especially stepping in for Jonathan Orozco.
We will see. All right, what's happening in Liga MX? We got 2 clásicos. With the Clásico Tapatío and the
Clásico Regio.
The Clásico Regio, the Nuevo León Monterrey. I'm not going to say this is going to be must watch, blah, 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 because that's what we said last week, and then we'll say that it's not. But if anything on the Clásicos, on the Clásico Tapatío, Atlas, right, this is going to be, again, we're hyping it up. This should be a really, really good game because finally, no, Carlos is saying no. Did he get the Chivas?
I just don't trust Chivas, and in terms of excitement, it should be a good game.
But let's say Atlas goes out. This is here we go. This competitive Atlas.
Yeah, but I think it will be a good game. I don't know about exciting. That's it. That's the only thing.
Oh.
I think it's a good game. I think Atlas has been very solid, and it's just what Chivas wants to present. If they try to make it dynamic and go back and forth and throw the blows, it will be exciting. If they don't, it's gonna end up on a 1-0-1. But I can tell you that it's still gonna be more entertaining than Clásico Regio for sure.
What is happening with Tigres? But hey, it's good. They've had the spotlight for 15 years. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because it went from with Tigres. If we're talking about Clásico Regio now, it looks like Rayados have obviously had a better season so far. But it went from me saying my usual, they'll figure it out. Then they were losing. I can't believe I forgot that was last Thursday. Was it against Toluca or Juarez?
Against Juarez.
Yeah. Where they were down and now just like, this is it. That's the end of their season. They're not going to figure it out. Then they figured it out. Then they recently got a boring draw against Puma. So maybe they're not back yet. I don't know. They're really like running out of time for their late season comeback. And I think with each passing week, you're having more and more doubts about Duca. You're having more doubts about.
Unfortunately, because of the system, they're in there.
Yeah. And somehow Sassa's still going to pick them to win the whole thing.
You know what? This
which he does every year.
This might be the season where I don't actually pick them.
Mr. Liguilla will come back.
Are you talking, Mr. League? You're talking about me? Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Gignac? Oh no.
Yeah, I'm talking about Gignac. So we'll see what happens. Pumas is done. Like, yeah.
I mean, they're still in the running because
I know, but I'm saying with the teams that I'm just kind of like, and then we'll see what León does. But it really does feel like America and everyone just has them at the final, which we've seen already 1 and 2 in the last few years. But which will be interesting. That'd be good. It'd be good to see if one of those two teams, because they have been playing well. So, yep. All right. I know we went over the 1 hour mark, but anything else? Cesar, you always have something you always have something like, hey, this happened. All
right. So we have dates for the Leagues Cup and the Campeones.
That's it.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it.
Mark it down your calendars. Quarterfinals, August 10th and 11th. Semis for the Leagues Cup, September 14th, 15th. And then the final, I'm not sure why more people aren't talking about this, but it'll be on September 22nd in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas, big year for soccer for them. They're going to have the Gold Cup final. They're going to have the Leagues Cup too. The Leagues Cup finals. Are they having this really next year?
Super Bowl soon?
Super Bowl's here.
No, it's a new stadium, so I
thought it was coming up. Yeah, that's right. Super Bowl is in LA.
Yeah, so
stadium.
Inglewood.
And then for
Inglewood.
And then the Campeones Cup, that'll be September 29th.
Irvine.
It'll be in Columbus. Columbus Crew will be facing off the Campeón de Campeones. Because remember, it's to make it to the Campeones Cup, you got to be the Campeón de Campeones. And you got to be the Campeón de Campeón de Campeones. To be one of those Campeones, you got to be the Campeón of one of the seasons and defeat the Campeón of the other Campeón to make it to the Campeón.
You know what all those trophies are worth? The same one that you have right there in the village.
Wow. This is why we need a
good about my trophy. Thank you.
Paulo, did you watch Super Campeones?
Of course. One of the reasons I don't know if you ever heard my origin story, but I got into soccer because I wanted to be like Oliver Atom.
That's awesome.
I hated soccer. My dad would take. I always tell you anecdotes when I come on. My biggest anecdote: I was 4 years old. My dad was trying to get me into soccer. I hated it. I love baseball because he would take me to. He had a game where it was comedians against sports journalists in the Parque del Seguro Social, which no longer exists in Mexico City. And May 1st, Tigres y Diablos always play the classic. And before that, these guys will play a 4-inning game where they play 2 innings, or 3-inning game where they play 2 innings for real, and the last one was prepared. It was supposed to be funny. For example, like I remember they had a thing that was made with chalk, and it looked like a ball. So when they throw it, the chalk will dissolve. So they will call him out for that. And then
that's hilarious.
My dad played a character that was Speedy Gonzalez. So he will just hit a hit, and everybody start moving in slow motion, and he'll run the bases and make an inside the park home run. So then I was bad boy for the game. So for 4 years in a row, I was the bad boy for the Diablos or the Tigres for the game. So I wanted to play baseball, but there was nowhere to play baseball, and my dad was like, "You have to like soccer," and I'm like, "I hate it." He took me. I was 4 or 5 to Ciudad Universitaria, and Pumas was playing León, and the game was 0-0. And he managed to talk to somebody. We go down to the field, and I fell asleep behind Jorge Campos.
What?
Like this, on the bench where the photographers are. Like this.
Is there a picture?
I don't. I think there is, but it will be hard to find it. But my dad can corroborate the story.
So there you go. That's
super cool.
That goes perfect because I always think Jorge Campos is super overrated. And
I mean, apparently they were not shooting on him either because the game finished 0-0.
He's so boring. You fall asleep, or maybe because he's the defense. But we'll do that. Yeah, we got killed in on the TikTok when we said Ochoa was better, and then everyone's saying the Campos is. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Guys, it's been a great Mexican Soccer Show. We went over 11 minutes. Thank you to everybody. Lots and lots of comments, over 30 comments that we try to get. We try to get to all of you. Thank you again to Mr. Burro that said that no one else matters but Carlos Justiz. And that's why we have him on, because he doesn't know. Carlos, muchísimas gracias. I know it's super last minute and we were trying to get this, but we had to get you on, especially with all the super mega Campeones leagues.
I know somebody canceled and you got the last minute, but it's okay. I still love you.
No. All right. Alex is saying, great show. Y'all have a good night. And if you're listening to us on the Spotify, on the old what is it called? The Apple Music.
Speaking
podcast?
of boomers, my God, you can look for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Apple,
on any of your podcasting platforms.
Go to Kazaa. You can download it.
You can go to LimeWire.
You can go ahead and burn a CD if you'd like and listen to us in your car.
You can go to Pilot or Napster.
You can record on the double tape. Just make sure you hit it at the same time. That we'll see that. All right. Yes, sorry. That's every time we have Carlos on, it's just a mandatory so he can give some kind of story of when he was younger and the cool things he had to do. It's like falling asleep behind Jorge Campos. David, thank you so much. Have a great one. And all right. This has been Mexican Soccer Show. Nos vemos hasta la próxima. Thank you. Good night, guys. Enjoyed it. All right. Adios.